I know you're super excited about forming your first RAID 1 array. I can feel the electricity in the air, so let's get started. We're going to jump right in. If you don't already have MDADM installed, which you probably don't if this is a fresh install, then you can download it using sudo apt-get install MDADM. Now in my case, I already have MDADM installed. I'll just show you that here. And you can see that it's already on the system. It's already the newest version. Nothing to upgrade there or update. And so let's jump right into the process. We're going to be using just for this tutorial series, I'm going to be using 2 hard drives. They're actually external hard drives connected to the laptop. If you have external hard drives, you can use those as well. This is just to demonstrate how RAID 1 operates and how to create an array. Okay, you wouldn't want to do this in a real world setting, but let me go ahead and dive right in with the command we'll use to create the array. Sudo mdadm 2 hyphens, setting the mode as create there, followed by the name of the array that we'd like to create. I will choose dev md0. You can also do dev md6 or md127 or whatever you'd like to call it. I'm going with dev md0. And then we will specify our level, which is 1. We're creating a RAID 1 array. And we also need to specify the number of devices in our array. This will be 2 devices for our array, and they will be formed, in my case, through the dev-sdb1 and dev-sdc1 partitions. So here you can see the command. We'll go ahead and run that. And all right, yes, we're going to go ahead and create that array. No problems there, and dev md0 started. Okay, so if you don't receive any errors there, you are good to go. The next thing that we need to do is create the file system on the array, and we will do that using makefs, just like we did creating a file system in a previous video. Now you're creating a file system on the array, so it's one file system for this array. So we're not creating file systems on dev-sdb1 and dev-sdc1. They're linked together now as one array. We need to create a file system on the array itself, and we do that using sudo makefs. And in this case, I chose to make an ext4 file system, and then we specified our array, which in this case is dev md0. Now for evidence of our array, because you may be saying, is my array really there? Has it really been created? How do I know this? We can use sudo mdadm detail and then specify the array. And here you can see that the super block is persistent. You can see that the RAID array is active and that it is currently resyncing. Now remember, we're setting up a RAID 1 array. We've created a mirror here, and so these disks are going to sync with one another so that our data is always in sync. But what's really cool about this is that we can go ahead and use the array even while it's still syncing, which does take a little bit of time. Okay? So our next step is going to be to add the array to our MDADM configuration file. And we'll do that using sudo mdadm detail scan, and then our arrows over here, or greater than signs, mdadm dot conf. Now, I already went ahead and tried to do this, and I encountered a problem on the system that I believe is a bug with MDADM. I have root privileges, and therefore the command that I'm showing you here should be the proper command. However, for one reason or another, even after looking at the permissions of the file, which I'll go ahead and show you here, let's dig into this together. Even after looking at the permissions of the file, I couldn't see any reason why I wasn't able to write to it. You can see here that I would have read and write permissions as root. I don't have execute privileges as root, but I should be able to write out information to that file. And in fact, I even gave root execute privileges and still couldn't do anything with the file. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Let me just show you one more thing in case you think Cody, you're just doing something wrong. I can even open the file here, and you can see that I have the file open here. You can even see the RAID array that I created previously here, which actually needs to be deleted. So you can see that I have access to the file. I can successfully write to the file. So anyway, how do we get around this? Well, I'm not entirely sure that you will encounter a permission denied when running this command. However, if it is a bug in MDADM and if they don't fix it, then what we'll need to do is adjust the permissions for the mdadm.conf file. Now, luckily, you know exactly how to do that, and we're just going to go ahead and open this sucker up to the whole wide world with 777 permissions, because we're just doing it for a moment, and then we'll set it back. Okay, so now I'm doing this in a kind of a slow way. I just want you to be following with me and to watch what I'm doing, so we can verify those permissions. And if in fact I type things correctly, then we can verify the permissions of the file. Okay, and you can see here that now it's opened up to the world. Read, write, and execute 3 times there. Okay, so now what we can do is run the initial command that I taught you. Sudo mdadm detail scan out to the mdadm.conf file. We run that now, and you can see that it runs properly. Let's not forget to change the permissions of that file. And again, you may not encounter the error, because if it's a bug, MDADM may fix it, and they may have been fixed by the time you watch this tutorial video. But I just want to be extra thorough. So let's set our permissions back here to 644. Okay, and let's just double check that that's correct. So now we've set the permissions back. Let's open up that file now. Let's actually just concatenate it. We shouldn't need to make any changes to it. Okay, and here you can see that at the end of the file, an array has been specified as devmd0. Okay, so it's very important that you update your MDADM configuration file. And one more very important and often overlooked command is going to be updating the initramfs. Yes, sudo update initramfs, and then another U to specify that we are updating that entry. Okay. After this, we just need to create a mount point, and after creating that mount point, then we will add the new RAID array to the etc. fstab, the file system table, and after we've done that, we will be good to go. I've already created a mount point for this array that we've just created, and I've created that in the mount folder, mnt. So let's go in there, and pardon me, I haven't created one yet. I've created mount points for the individual drives, but not for the array. So I am going to go ahead and let's call it RAID. So you'll go into your mount directory, and you will create a new directory in here where we can mount the RAID array. So I've created my mount point here. Now what I need to do is I need to tell the fstab file where to mount the array. So we'll use sudo blkid in getting the UUID for the array itself. And again, I'm using SSH, so I have an advantage over you here in that I can copy and paste. You can see here devmd0 and the UUID as well as the file system type. We just want to copy the UUID, and we will then put that in our file system tab file. So let's go ahead and open that up. And here at the bottom, UUID equals, we will put in our UUID, followed by our mount point, which we just created as mount RAID, and then the file system type, which is ext 4, followed by options. Defaults will work fine. Dump is 0, and pass we will set, go ahead and set it to 4. Okay. Yes, because I'm going to delete these other entries. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these entries out of my file system table there. And actually, after doing that, then this can be changed to 2. If you're curious about the dump and the pass, dump is seldom used. You can usually just keep that as 0. It's kind of a deprecated type of backup. Pass is going to check the file system for errors. If you set pass to 0, the file system will never be checked. So you'd have to do that manually, checking the file system manually. Otherwise, on boot, it will check the file system with pass. And typically what you can do is with a different hard drive, you can set up a different number for pass. Like you can see that I have on my main drive SDA, I have the OS partition as pass 1, and now I just set up this RAID array as pass 2 because they're separate disks. If they're just different partitions on the same disk, they can have the same pass, and that's fine. So setting 0, no pass, and then you're specifying basically the pass order, the order that it will check the file system. Okay. All right, so we have successfully updated that. Now we can use df to see that our array is not mounted. And remember, I told you, you can actually mount and use the array even while it is still resyncing. So let's just go ahead and check on that and see how our array is doing. You can see that it's now 7% complete with the resync. It takes a little bit of time, and these are slow disks that I'm running through USB. Again, not the best for a real-world RAID setup, but just for example. But we can go ahead and mount the array. And so we would do that. Now that it's in our fstab file, we can do that using sudo mount and then the name of our array. Then we can use dfh to see that our array is in fact mounted. Now we can also get a little bit of information about our array using concatenate to open up the procmdstat file. And here you can get the resync progress. Note, of course, that you're just concatenating the information in this file, and so you'd have to run it again to see any progress, right? So you have to run the command again there. But this is a very helpful way of just getting a quick peek at your RAID array. And right now we're done. Again, we can actually create files on the array. Let's just go ahead and let me just cd into here, and we are now in the array. And let me just go ahead and create an example file. I didn't spell example right. I spelled it xmaple. So let's just go with that. I used to be Maple, but I'm an xmaple now. All right. And so you can see that that file, xmaple, has been created on the array, all while it's still syncing. Okay. And again, understanding that with a RAID 1 array, you've created a mirror, so it has to sync up all of the data with itself. Especially when you've just created this array, it has to sync everything up. And even though there's not a lot of information on there, it still has to sync the two disks together, sync them up, and that's what's taking time. But at this point, you can congratulate yourself because you have created a RAID 1 array. Remember that we created the array, then we made the file system on the array, then we added that to our mdadm.conf file, and we had a little hiccup there, but I showed you how to get over that using chmod. Just make sure to change things back, change those permissions back if you do that. Then we updated initramfs. We made sure that we had a mount point, created a mount point for our array, added it to the file system table, to the etc. fstab file, and then we went ahead and mounted it, and we've actually put an example file up there. So you can see that we're done. Please congratulate yourself. You have done awesome if you were following along, and you now have a RAID 1 array yourself. Good job.